India's northeast is a distant region surrounded by Tibet, Myanmar, Bangladesh and Bhutan. The entire area is linked to the rest of the country by a narrow land corridor known as the Chicken's Neck, barely 20 kilometers wide at its narrowest. There are 7 states here: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur and Nagaland. Its fertile soil is watered by great rivers like the Brahmaputra and Lohit, fed by Himalayan snow and monsoon rain. Because of its relative isolation, many of the wildernesses of the region are still intact. It is home to the Hoolock gibbon, herds of wild elephants, the one-horned rhinoceros, and a vast range of migratory and local birds. The ethnic diversity of the Northeast represents an Asia in miniature, where the brown and yellow races meet and mingle. This is the cultural bridge between mainland India and Southeast Asia. It is a complex melting pot which has seen waves of migrations over the centuries. Settlers have come from Southeast Asia and the areas now comprising Tibet, Myanmar, Bangladesh and Nepal, and from as far west of India as Rajasthan and the Punjab. Among the original inhabitants of the Naga plains are the Dimasa Kacharis, whose ancestors once ruled a powerful kingdom that stretched into the Brahmaputra valley. They came into conflict with the other major power of the times, the Ahom rulers of Assam, and were forced to shift their capital further south. These ancient ruins of the Dimasa Kachari rulers lie silent but not abandoned. History is being restored. The Brahmaputra divides the northeast, and its influence is felt across valley and hill. The Brahmaputra is a life force. It dominates Assam. This valley has been the cradle of many civilizations and cultures. In these excavations at Surya Pahar in southern Assam, archaeologists found a mix of religious figures, Jain, Hindu and Buddhist, pointing to an equal recognition of faiths by earlier kings. Scattered ruins are seen across the state, indications of a rich and ancient heritage. Old temples and shrines still draw pilgrims from across the country. Perhaps the best known is Kamakhya, where the goddess Parvati is worshipped. Kamakhya is one of the several prominent temples in Guwahati, the largest city of the northeast. Not far from here lies Madan Kamdev, where a few surviving relics underline its cultural significance. The erotic images show the existence of a cult that believed that physical love was a way of reaching out to divine love. Today's Guwahati the commercial capital of the region, sprawls along both banks of the Brahmaputra. Elsewhere are the domed tombs where lie buried the kings from the area now comprising Thailand and who migrated to Assam in the 13th century. These were the Thai Ahoms who ruled Assam for 600 years, defeating all foreign invasions, including the Mughals, before they succumbed to the British. Their ancient capital and sturdy buildings still stand proud and solid. Nature's bounty is visible everywhere. Above all, it is a rich and fertile area with many similarities to Southeast Asia. Traditional forms of farming and fishing are the norm, as they have been for centuries. The festivals of Assam, too, as other festivals in other parts of the northeast, have a strong association with farming and agriculture. Bihu, every April, signals the new year and a good harvest. This is celebrated in different ways by different communities, but all of them are marked by music and dance, romantic songs, and slim swinging waists. Assam's culture is also firmly rooted in the monasteries, which were set up across the valley by a reformer saint of the 15th century, Shankardev. These monasteries or satras were centers of religious teaching of the Vaishnavite faith, a reformist Hinduism shorn of ritual and Brahmanical dominance. Shankardev and his followers refined their work in the isolation of Majuli, the world's largest river island on the Brahmaputra. They took a popular, folklorish form of faith to the people using the medium of dance, drama, music, and poetry. The dancers were all male, as they are here. The traditions are not confined to themes of divine love, but also include a strong influence of mythology that audiences can easily identify with. The ancient scripts of these stories are lovingly preserved. The golden silk of Assam is among its best-known traditions. This is woven into a number of fabrics, including the Mekhela Chador or two-piece sari. Women ply the shuttle loom and weave intricate designs. The clang of hammer on metal. The bell metal workers of Sarthebari. Under primitive conditions, they fashion platters and goblets, trays, bowls, water jugs and cymbals, products that are in high demand. Religious processions are a fairly common feature. This particular one is at the town of Hajo, which is home to three faiths: Hinduism, Islam, and, in earlier times, Buddhism. This was the first place to receive Islam in the entire region in the 11th century, and, because of its broad-mindedness, is a good example of Assam's multi-religious culture. Many tribes and small communities which have moved from other parts of the Northeast and Southeast Asia have made their home in Assam. They retain their distinctive cultural traditions. These groups include the Rabhas. The Bodos are among the largest and most ancient inhabitants of the Assam region. The Bodos, too, are primarily agricultural people and are scattered across the length of the 900-kilometer valley. The Assamese Sikhs are a distinctive community, far from their original homeland in the Punjab. These are the descendants of the followers of the Sikh Guru Tegh Bahadur, who travelled to Assam in the 17th century. One of their large gurdwaras is stunningly located at Dhubri on the banks of the Brahmaputra in southern Assam before the river dips into Bangladesh. By the river, other communities too have flourished. The tea pluckers of Assam were transported there from Bihar and Odisha in the 19th century to work on British plantations. They are now the single largest community in the whole valley. It is because of their hard work and the managerial skills of entrepreneurs that Assam's principal export, a strong brew of tea, has made its mark on the world. Apart from tea, Assam is renowned for its abundant forests and wildlife, especially the one-horned rhino. At the Kaziranga National Park, rhinos, elephants, and other large inhabitants share space with the smaller denizens of the jungle. The natural resources of the valley can also be seen in the coal fields of Upper Assam and its large oil and gas reserves which are being tapped for industrial use. The ancient kingdom of Manipur is among the smaller states of the northeast with a population of about 2 million. Its name literally means the land of gems and has been referred to in historical accounts as Mekli, Kasai, and Kathe. It is also on the ancient trade and migration routes between South and Southeast Asia. The old palace flanks Govindaji, Manipur's preeminent Hindu temple which is more than 200 years old. Located in the capital of Imphal, the daily opening of the Sanctum Sanctorum is an elaborate ritual that attracts dozens of worshippers. Manipur is unique in many ways, especially in the Imphal Valley, where the Vaishnavite Hindus known as the Meiteis dwell. The Meiteis are originally of 7 major clans, and Hinduism is a comparatively recent phenomenon. The dominant role of women in Meitei society is obvious. There is an Ima market, or all-woman market, in Imphal. There are smaller versions of this across the state, where women run all the stores selling food, kitchenware, fabric, and fish. Manipur became a Hinduized state in the 18th century under the influence of Bengali priests. However, its Hindu population still reveres Sanamahi, a pre-Hindu deity, as the principal god during the New Year celebrations every April. The offerings of food are first made to Sanamahi and then taken to the local temple and also placed outside homes. After a huge New Year feast, the faithful throng a hill where the deity is located. This ritual is also an excellent method of working off the effects of the meal. The hills are dominated by the Nagas and Kuki communities, which are predominantly Christian. Maram Nagas pull a juggernaut, a chariot without wheels, which is carrying a huge rock, 21 feet high and 20 tons in weight. They are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the church. the whir of swordplay. A lithe body leaps and swerves, his figure and weapon cleaving the air. This is Thangta, one of Manipur's ancient martial arts. The skills are still very fine-honed, as the two swordsmen show. The swordplay contrasts with one of the most peaceful sights in the northeast, the Loktak Lake, a unique wetlands and freshwater lake where life moves at a leisurely pace. These tiny islands on the lake actually do move, comprising as they do of rushes and thick grass. Fishing families live on small huts on these pundis, as the islands are called. The pundis are anchored to the lake bed. An extension of the Loktak wetlands is the Kabuilamjau National Park, where the marshes and streams are home to the Sangai, the shy brow-antlered deer, which has made a dramatic return from the brink of extinction. Not far from the Loktak is Moirang, a historic town, for it was here that one of India's most gallant sons, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, set up the provisional headquarters of the liberated areas of Manipur and the Naga Hills in 1944. Bose led the Indian National Army, which fought alongside the Japanese against Britain. And although the military strategy eventually failed, Bose's call electrified the nation. On the road to Moirang lie two moving memorials. Both have been built by the Japanese, perhaps as an atonement for the horrors of the Second World War. One commemorates their war dead. The other remembers those from India and Japan who died in the war. The enchanting grace of a Manipuri dancer is touched with passion. And then there is Pung Cholom, the dance of drummers, where they whirl and seemingly fly. Looking at them, a visitor cannot be blamed for wondering whether the gods learned to dance in Manipur. Ratan Tiam is among India's most celebrated dramatists, respected here and abroad for his theatre, which has such strong roots in his own culture.
Well, when we started this theatre, we always felt that we need a better space and a larger space to work with. And also the most important thing was to have a working temple. The studio theater here is like a temple for us. This building itself is a place where all the actors have to go and work and then also earn our livelihood out of what we do. And you know that survival in theater is very hard. We need always a space where we can concentrate. And that concentration which leads to a kind of spiritual quality and the development of the spiritual depth inside a person. An actor has to be like that. That's what we feel. You know, actor has to surrender with one production. The production and acting becomes his own religion. But he has to know and give respect to all the religions. And that's why we wanted to create a space where we can concentrate with any kind of situation.
Divine love, the love of Krishna, the dark god, with Radha. This is at the very heart of Manipuri dance, which was created by Maharaja Bhagyachandra in 1780. It is said that the dance was revealed to him in a dream, and the performance is dreamlike, languorous, with exquisite veiled dancers wearing thick, glittering sequined gowns and blouses, carrying themselves with the lightness of butterflies. Tripura is another ancient kingdom that some historians say is the same land that finds mention in the Mahabharata, the great epic of love, war, deceit, and divine power. The origins of the kingdom are given in the Tripura royal chronicles, known as the Raj Mala. Yet, over time, much has changed. The elegant royal palace designed in European traditions with grottos, columns, and balustrades is now the state legislature, showing the transition from monarchy to democratic rule. The Mughals dominated Tripura in the 17th and 18th century before the British East India Company came onto the scene. With a combination of manipulation and force, the British took control. The European impact is still felt in the architecture, as at the Neer Mahal or Lake Palace, a short distance from the capital, Agartala. Visitors throng to this decaying summer palace with its elegantly laid out gardens, columns, and stylized but empty rooms. The older traditions are to be seen in the massive rock cuts of Unakoti in the north of Tripura, which are said to be at least 900 years old and date to the Kachari era. The legends are far older. One goes that Lord Shiv, the Hindu god of destruction, halted there with a great assembly of gods and goddesses during a pilgrimage. Tripura is home to 19 distinct tribes, including the original Tripuris, who are now a minority in their own land, and the Burman Kacharis. Life revolves around agriculture and wet rice cultivation in the plains. As elsewhere, the dances celebrate harvests and fertility. Tripura too has extensive rubber plantations. It is India's second largest producer of the crop after Kerala. The once plentiful forests are dwindling, but there are successful efforts at conservation and regeneration. One of the best documented examples is a joint forestry management project which is being run by a non-government organization and the state's forest department. The border with Bangladesh is not very far from any point in Tripura. The border here has existed from 1947, but the history of the region spans these frontiers, especially in terms of Bengali influence and culture that has flooded the state. The first colleges of the Northeast were set up in Agartala, and Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel Prize winner for literature, lived and worked here for several years. He enjoyed the patronage of the Tripuri kings, who admired Tagore's genius and generously funded his university at Shantiniketan in West Bengal. This ruined villa was once home to Tagore. Today, only a shell remains, open to the elements, decaying and uncared for. Over the decades, Bengali replaced the original language, Kokborok. But these days, there is an official effort to restore the language to its people. Mizoram is one of the youngest states of India. It was born in 1986 and has a population of about 700,000. The Mizos are part of the Kuki-Chin community, which lives on either side of the India-Myanmar border. Very little is known about their distant past, but it is widely accepted that they are of Tibeto-Burman stock and have lived in the neighboring Chin Hills of Burma since the 14th century. Fleeing the pressure from other tribes, they migrated to the Mizo Hills and to Manipur and Assam. Here, And in the other hill states of the northeast, the church plays a dominant role. On Sundays, everything closes as people, dressed in their best, walk to morning service. In the villages, the houses are on stilts because of the steep slopes and soft soil. One could walk into a house from the street and find oneself on the fourth level. The dances of the Mizos are primarily connected to agriculture, whether it is June or shifting cultivation or harvest. Everyone in the village takes part in these operations, and dances like the Chelilam and Cherao, the famous bamboo dance, have the impress of other Southeast Asian communities. Handlooms are an essential part of Mizoram's economic life. Many women still prefer the traditional garments of a pua or embroidered sarong and a blouse. The men have fewer choices. The rattle of the shuttle loom is frequently heard outside homes and on the streets of Aizawl, the capital, and other towns. Mizoram has another significant social credit. It is now the leader in literacy in the country, having overtaken Kerala with a literacy level of 98%.
Speed of 90 miles an hour. Okay, in these two examples, okay, we don't see any material names. We don't see any material names.
A singer croons about the beauty of the state, its people, its forests. But water is a problem. And apart from tube wells, Mizoram has tackled water shortages with an innovative system of water harvesting that stores rainwater in large tanks. Nagaland was formally inaugurated as India's 16th state in 1963 and has borders with Myanmar, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Manipur. There are 16 major tribes and numerous sub-tribes. Many villages, as this, are set on high ridges and at one time were almost inaccessible. but road communications has changed this. The village of Konoma, seen here, is one of Nagaland's legendary villages, having pioneered terraced cultivation centuries ago. Faith is deep and resilient here, and the choir sings in Angami, the local language. The dominant influence of the church is to be seen in the massive cathedral at Kohima, designed on traditional lines. But there are those who prefer to sip rice beer. The many tribes of Nagaland have distinctive dances and traditions. Each of the groups can be identified by their costumes, especially the shawls and jewelry. Locally made fabrics and clothes, as well as cane handicraft, are popular, and young designers have given them a touch of class. One of the groups is the Dimasa Kacharis. This once powerful tribe is scattered and found in small pockets, clinging to its traditions, for it has lost its lands. What is being performed is, ironically, the victory celebrations before a king. War and peace, victory and defeat, the futility of young lives lost. During the Second World War, the Japanese conquering tide was reversed after months of bitter fighting here at Kohima. As the memorial says, when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today. Meghalaya, abode of the clouds, land of mist, rain and waterfalls. The towns of Cherrapunji and Mausanram receive the highest rainfall in the world. The Ramakrishna Mission, which is among the earliest centers to promote education and faith, along with the Theological College, is located at Cherrapunji. They are part of an extensive educational network in Meghalaya, which was carved out of Assam in 1970. Streams have cut through rock over millennia, and mysterious caves abound in the Khasi and Garo hills. There are too the sacred groves, protected by local communities in the belief that the spirits which dwell there must not be disturbed. Nartiang is another silent sacred grove for different reasons. It is a place of grand megaliths, carved out of stone to commemorate great warriors. The people of the Meghalaya hills practice shifting cultivation. Here, members of the Garo tribe plant seeds for the new harvest. The state is home to three major ethnic groups, the Khasi, Jaintia and Garo, and all of them follow the matrilineal system of inheritance, where the youngest daughter inherits property. Shillong, the capital of Meghalaya, is a cosmopolitan town of schools and churches. The Khasis are believed to have migrated from the area now comprising Kampuchea hundreds of years ago. The Shillong air is brisk and filled with the scent of pine and trees. The Wards Lake, built by the British, is for punters and others wanting to have fun. The Welsh missionaries brought Presbyterianism to the Khasi Hills as well as the written word, leaving an indelible imprint. Arunachal Pradesh is perhaps the most diverse and spectacular of all 7 states. This is the land of the rising sun, as it sprawls over more than 80,000 square kilometers, making it the largest state of the Northeast. Yet, it has a population of less than 1 million. There are more than 21 major communities with another 100 ethnic subgroupings. About 2/3 of the state is covered by forests, especially deciduous and conifer. Few areas of the Himalaya have such expanses of pristine forests, which are so rich in wildlife. The Monpas are part of the Tibetan tradition and live near Tawang. They follow the Mahayana school of Buddhism, which is practiced by the Dalai Lama, the exiled Tibetan leader. Indeed, the Tibetan influence is most evident at Tawang, where one of the great Buddhist monasteries is located. Buddhism is one of the major religions of Arunachal Pradesh, and it has found a remarkably beautiful setting: mountains and deep valleys, streams and clear lakes. Other groups include the Hushru, earlier known as the Aka, who welcome visitors to their village in the customary manner with music and dance. Then the Apatanis, among the most progressive farming communities of the Northeast. For generations, the Apatanis have developed a highly sustainable way of terraced wet rice cultivation on their tiny plateau in central Arunachal Pradesh. Yet, until earlier this century, they had not even seen a plough. In earlier times, they used to disfigure their women, forcing them to wear nose plugs that would make them unattractive to attackers. But these practices have now virtually stopped. Further east lies the land of the Khamtis. They follow festivals such as Sanker, the New Year, where images of the Buddha are ritually washed. The Khamtis migrated from the Burma-China border about 200 years ago and settled in the upper reaches of the Brahmaputra. A dominant ethnic group in the state are the Adis, who live in the Siang Valley. The Siang is the Brahmaputra, having traveled from Tibet and swerved south into India at Arunachal Pradesh. The traditional faith of the people of Arunachal Pradesh is Donyi Polo, moon and sun worship. Other pillars of a traditional society are still strong. The Kebang or village council, which is summoned to settle disputes without going to a court of law. The people of Arunachal Pradesh, as others of India's northeast, hold on to their traditions in these days of rapid change. For they and other inhabitants of this region have spanned 1,000 years in a lifetime.